I'm your host, Annie Bowles, and this is a bonus episode of News du Jour. Hey everyone, I wanted to pop in your feeds this week with a bonus episode from News du Jour on the subject of an op-ed I penned for the Oklahoman. In case you're not local to Oklahoma, the Oklahoman is the most prominent newspaper here in our state, and I was so honored that they chose to publish my op-ed because this subject, Senate Bill 1470, is so near and dear to my heart, and I really wanted to make the case for it prior to our final vote on the House floor, likely coming up this week. So without further ado, I'm just going to read to you guys what I wrote in case it was behind a paywall for you guys or you simply didn't have time. Our podcast caters to busy women, so I wanted to make it as accessible as possible, especially for those of you who are really bought into April's case and Nikki Adamondo. That's what this is really all about, the human beings being affected by domestic violence. Without further ado, I'm going to read to you guys what I wrote. If there's anything we've learned from working to pass Senate Bill 1470, it's that as a woman, there's no winning. For women in Oklahoma, it's a fine line between being another true crime headline, dead woman found on the side of the road, and being locked away in an orange jumpsuit for life. Over 49.1% of women in Oklahoma will experience domestic abuse in their lives. You can essentially look around the grocery store here and do an eeny, meeny, miny, mo on who might be being abused. Every other woman here has or is experiencing domestic abuse. And that source, by the way, you guys, is provided at the article. But God forbid she fight back. If you've spent any time in Oklahoma at all, you know that Oklahomans were bred with a certain grit in our veins. If I had to guess, I would say it's from the type of person who would come to this former territory in the first place. People without much to lose, but coming here knowing that they would face many obstacles. Wind, blazing prairie summers, and the wild west of it all. They face this unafraid, and that grit has been handed down through the generations. We often take pride in this stoic determination, and women here too have that grit. They do fight back, but at what cost? Probably since before our state's inception in 1907, women have been fighting back against abusers. Social media comments that I've gotten on the subject of domestic violence read, quote, "Just get a gun, that'll fix it," end quote. If only it were that simple. Statistics show that if a woman gets a gun to defend herself, it is far more likely to be used against her. According to the Violence Policy Center, studies show that for every one time a woman used her handgun to protect herself, there were 101 times where her handgun was used by somebody else to harm her. The idea of defending yourself as a woman is a myth. And here is what makes it even more mythical. In the rare instances where self-defense is employed, women are still blamed, shamed, every chink in their armor exposed, every skeleton in their closet pulled to the fore, as if she did this to herself. Oklahoma Appleseed Center for Law and Justice has compiled over 100 names of women currently incarcerated that self-identify as women who committed crimes out of desperation caused by an abuser. Senate Bill 1470, otherwise known as the Oklahoma Survivors Act, will head to the House committee this week and likely to the House floor for a vote next week. This bill is a rare opportunity to bring Oklahoma law a bit more in line with these shocking statistics that we see our home state riddled with. We have learned so much in recent years about the power and pervasiveness of coercive control and how abusers operate. Under this law, survivors will still do time for their crimes. It is not a get-out-of-jail-free card. But if the victim has evidence of domestic abuse, she can receive a lesser sentence if the crime stemmed directly from that documented abuse. If passed, this law will certainly reunite families. A 2014 study produced by the state of Oklahoma showed that 2/3 of women incarcerated here are mothers, and many of the incarcerated survivors we speak to cite their children as the very reason for their fighting back or going along with their abusers. They were doing everything they could to shield their little ones, and now they spend painful nights staring at prison walls, trying to remember their wispy baby hairs, the gentle rise and fall of their little bellies, and they pray that they don't have to miss one moment more of their child's childhood. These children, separated from their mothers by bars, are blameless victims to the systems that punish survivors and protect abusers. They will grow up without a mother because she fought to survive. In many cases, they do not understand why their mother has been taken from them, and they will be emotionally scarred forevermore if they were not already damaged enough by witnessing her abuse. There is no giving a mother back those years with a child, but there's also no giving a child back those years either. They are entirely innocent and yet robbed by a system intent on punishing their parent for surviving. But the part of this bill that gives me the most hope for the future is that we're seeing women not only from all over the country rallying support, but also our courageous Republican authors standing tall in the face of political threats from elected district attorneys who would rather see the system keep its flaws, who prefer business as usual to genuine justice. The numbers prove that Oklahoma is broken, but these DAs are shaking in their boots to make a change. We know that doing the same things will produce the same flawed outcomes. But regardless of the forces trying to hold us back, this bill is not only a bill that Oklahoma desperately needs, but also a bill that Oklahomans can agree on. Senate Bill 1470 passed the Senate vote without a single nay, 45-0. This is a rare instance in today's political climate where we see support across the spectrum. And that is because of the language of this bill. It makes sense. It provides accountability without undue punishment for survivors who never deserve to be in the position of being prosecuted in the first place. Women in Oklahoma are trapped. They're damned if they do and damned if they don't. Women are often blamed for our own abuse. It's time we place the blame squarely on the shoulders of abusers and abusers alone. Senate Bill 1470 is an important step in that direction. And that is my op-ed. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if it moved you in any way, please consider resharing the op-ed to your social media and with your friends and family and let them know about what we're doing. Our petition, as always, for Senate Bill 1470 will be linked in our show notes with a ton more information, including the exact language of the bill if you'd like to read it yourself. And again, it should be going to the House floor for a vote this week. May the odds be ever in our favor. And that for today is our bonus episode of News du Jour. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you use to listen. A rate and review on that platform or a shout out on social media would mean the world to us and help us to be able to keep creating the News du Jour and reach more people who need a calmer space to consume the news. But the best way to support all of our work is to become a patron at www.patreon.com/sugarfree media, and that is also linked in our show notes. You can follow us on social media at newsdujour.podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. You can follow my personal account at It's Annie Bowles on both platforms as well. Any little noises you may hear in the background are my rescue pup. He has a little separation anxiety and always records with me. We appreciate you listening and look forward to telling you about the news again next time on News du Jour.
Broadcasting from